Alright guys, TacticalRab again, so I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day. So far the CDL is over for the weekend. The big game we were all looking forward to didn't really deliver in terms of a Game 5 banger, but it certainly delivered in terms of storylines. Drazah and Scrap going back and forth big time on Twitter.com after the fact. Plenty to dive into today. Very much on Twitter, your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. This is not the same image of Crim from yesterday. This is a new one because Crim went back to back today, baby. It was absolutely fantastic to see. I actually got the chance to tune into this one and it was pretty cool, right? Because Crim was leading the race by a mile. I think it was like 9-10 seconds clear. But right at the end of the Grand Prix, there was like an instant elsewhere on the track there to bring out the full track caution. The safety car comes out. So if you guys aren't familiar with basically how this works, the entire field's bunched up, right? So the safety car comes out. The intention of this is that if there's an incident on one part of the track, they need to resolve, or marshals need to go out there to get something sorted. They need to make sure that that track is going to be, or part of the track is going to be clear for some time. So they let the field bunch up. Okay, the positions stay the same, but then you go again. And I'm pretty sure it ended up being a one-lap shootout here. So Crim's 10-second advantage was basically wiped away, and he had to defend with 1 lap to go to take the checkered flag, and he defended like a lion and gets the job done. And it was really cool to see from Crim's onboard as well. So he goes back to back here for the dub, and as you guys can see, coming around the final corner, really puts the fist bump up really to the boys. Obviously, you know, there's a whole team that support this type of operation as well. So great to see from Crim. Okay, look, it's not the Premier Motorsport category, but if Crim continues in this manner, then who knows how it might go from here. So, you know, Crim, 100% win rate in his professional kind of racing career so far. I just thought was really cool to see. And yeah, here he is again with his bottle of champagne and his back-to-back first place trophy. So congratulations to Crim. And yeah, just great to see. So 6 more rounds of this championship that he's doing this season. Plenty more to come. They also are racing, I'm pretty sure, at the Circuit of the Americas later this year, which of course is the track in Texas that Formula 1 also race at. So that is going to be pretty spectacular stuff. I know that Crim was talking about it as well, basically saying like he's just getting started and obviously thanking the team. He honestly went into like proper racing driver mentality if this actually wants to look proper here, because if you guys have watched like IndyCar or NASCAR or something like that before, the drivers, they're always talking about their sponsors, right? And they'll always use like the full sponsor name. So Crim did a great job here being a true professional racer and just shouted out all of the sponsors, everyone that's involved in getting this sorted behind the scenes. And yeah, obviously did a fantastic job. So looking forward to the next steps from that from Crim. But of course, there were some CDL games going on today, and we're going to discuss 2 of them. We'll leave the Minnesota versus Thieves one until tomorrow because it's kind of late here on this Central European time zone that I'm currently in. But Subliners Miami, man. Miami, okay, I guess the question is, have they fallen off big time or were they never actually that good? I think they were decent at the start of the game. I think they looked a bit better because other teams were a bit shaky, but I think they deserved the credit that they got. But of course, many people expected them to come into the major and not have the greatest time, which is, to be fair, what happens. This series, though, was just Subliners playing well, but Heretics were just nowhere near the level. We know that they're absolutely begging right now to get Real over and get his visa sorted, because I think it was abundantly clear as soon as they signed Real as their second sub, because let's be honest here, JurNii is still maybe an option, but it doesn't seem like that's going to be happening as it stands. And as soon as they signed Real as their second sub, I think it became relatively clear things internally weren't in a great spot. I don't think they can get Real's visa sorted immediately. If it was, I think he'd already be in the team, to be honest, because we know they're struggling and it's just difficult to know what to do. I've said it before, these 4 Spanish players are definitely not the 4 Spanish players in the world that are the best as far as I'm concerned. You know, there's a European Challenger team with Sucre, with Rencourt, with Super, and with Yako, I believe, that have been doing very well. And I think those players, at least some of them, are more talented straight up than what Miami have. I don't know if it's politics within that Spanish scene that's preventing this from happening, but they could do better than they are, I think, even in just Spanish talent. ErikBooM has been getting absolutely piss slammed. I also got to say as well, ever since Vikul threw up the 3-0 sign, since they got, you know, the 3-0'd OpTic, it's been all downhill from there. And even I remember, and I criticised this, as did Trey on Dope Check a couple of weeks ago now, when I think it was CDL Scrumintel tweeted out, I think they lost to Toronto, and basically Intel Ronnie said, damn, like, they looked pretty bad, Miami, in that series. And Vikul replied to say, oh, damn, if that's what you take from that series, then, you know, you're faded or something. And ever since that tweet, they've got body slammed every series they've played. And maybe it would have been wise to focus more on their own gameplay, but it doesn't seem to have mattered regardless. Subliners are one of the better teams, for sure, but Miami, like, their map win-loss ratio is just absurdly shocking over the last few weeks. Like, they just can't win a map right now. And again, when push comes to shove, 2 versus 3 to go up 5-4 in this map, and yeah, they managed to lose it. It ends up 6-4, and again, it's just one of those situations when Miami find themselves in a winnable scenario and they just can't even get close to closing it out. And a quick 3-0 from there as well. And Invasion Control was completely dominant. Miami never stood a chance. So fair play to the Subliners. You know, they finished 5-0 now. They're moving very nicely indeed. And man, the major is going to be spectacular when we get to Sunday. I think the way the league is looking right now, the first rounds are going to be relatively predictable, as we have seen very recently indeed. But come Sunday, wow, there are going to be some big storylines on display, assuming the best teams make it to Sunday, which almost certainly they will, based on the way the league is presently looking, and I'm sure the New York Subliners should be there. I agree with Octane as well that Subliners, I think, were criticised for understandable reasons at the start of the season, but they have definitely turned it around. But I think this says a bit more about the Miami Heretics, really, than it does about the Subliners. Miami now 0-5, Subliners now 5-0, of course. Last year, that had been job done, 5 matches. This year, of course, 7 games to be played, so still more to come. But MettalZ had a 0.57. ErikBooM had a 6.60 with 5,600 damage. I don't know if that's the lowest damage in a series this year, but it's got to be, right? I mean, come on, has anyone got worse than that? I just don't see, like, what was he doing on the map? 31 kills, I guess he had more than MettalZ, but yeah, this was ugly from start to finish. It wasn't even close, and I feel bad for Erik, right? But at the same time, you've been getting slammed. If you look at Fire40, who got clowned on when he was on Paris back in Cold War, I don't think his numbers were this bad. So something's got to be said about that. They just don't even win maps either at Miami, which is the other point of these guys. So, like, what do you do, right? I mean, their run doesn't get much easier. They're basically going to be guaranteed a loser's bracket start to their own major for sure, pretty much regardless of what happens in the last couple of series that they play. So I just don't see where exactly they're going to go from here. They can't, I mean, what do you do? Bring JurNii back for Erik like they had before? Maybe. I mean, maybe you've got to try something. At least they looked okay with JurNii for some time, but the feeling was from their, like, behind the scenes documentaries that maybe there was a bit of a breakdown in chemistry there between JurNii and the rest of the guys. Maybe that's why they tried to get Real in, but you know, maybe that's only just a patch over a wound that is not going to be healed anytime soon. So that was ugly, and so was this series, to be fair, as well. I was hoping for a Game 5 banger here, but I'm not going to lie to you guys. As soon as I saw the map set, I thought, damn, I should have changed my prediction, you know, gone for FaZe, because this map set was very interesting from Toronto's side, and actually makes it quite clear that they don't really value these online series that highly, and maybe they shouldn't, but FaZe definitely wanted to win this series, and Toronto decided to take a very interesting approach. Now, when I saw this tweet this morning, I thought, you know what, probably this is a bit of a song lyric, you know, and apparently it's not, to be fair, but Drazah was clearly coming with the energy today. Got a bit of flack for this tweet to the replies, actually, but, you know, he was clearly bringing the energy to today's game. But I've looked at these vetoes. Like, if you want to give FaZe their best possible map set, this is basically it, and that seemed to be Toronto's intention here. They actually banned out Karachi Search, which is like their best search and destroy map right up there. Okay, they used to love, obviously, Skid Row, but that got removed from the map pool. Karachi Hardpoint has been a great map for FaZe as of late. They've been slamming lots of teams on it. Of course, they destroyed New York on that map just the other day in a series they lost in 5. Rio Search was awful for Toronto when they got slammed on it 6-0 by the Vegas Legion. So they obviously wanted more reps on that. And then High Rise Control is probably FaZe's best control. They're just super good at that one. Rio can probably go either way, but FaZe really like it. And then High Rise Search, FaZe are pretty good at that as well. So if you wanted to pick out a map set that FaZe are going to love, there's no sub-base in it, nothing like that, then this is pretty much what it's going to be. And Toronto decided to straight up square up with FaZe on this one, and I don't think they will necessarily be making that mistake again, especially when we get to the major tournament. But I definitely felt like FaZe had something to prove in this series. Toronto, while I'm sure they'd have liked to win, I don't think Scrappy and the boys really think too much of this one, and maybe that's right and maybe that's wrong, and there will will be more questions raised on this, right? Because Ultra, best team in the game, get body slammed here 3-0. And they talked about, oh, well, against Boston, it was a fluke for XYZ reason back in Major 1. But it's happened now again, and it will raise some questions. Sure, it's against FaZe, but this was a team that Toronto, you know, completely dismantled back at Major 1. And then we're going to get the comments from Drazah here in just a couple of seconds that are very spicy indeed. So game 1, I mean, after the first break onto P2, it was quite clear that FaZe were going to run away with this map. It was never close, this map. CleanX was getting absolutely slammed early on as well, and FaZe just ran away with the game. It actually ended up being relatively close, ended up like 250 to 170 or so, but still a map that FaZe completely dominated. Cellium and Drazah as well were really on point this series, and you know, you watch this series and you just wonder, like, how do FaZe keep getting seconds? Like, they're so good. The players are so good, the talent is so high. And I know people were joking around after this series that, wow, FaZe looked really good. So congratulations, FaZe, on another second place finish, this time losing to OpTic or to the Subliners or whatever in the grand finals of Major 2. We'll see if that happens. This is another point that I did want to point out here, though, from Parasite on kind of the whole hate the game cheese. We know that Scrappy especially has been very critical of the game lately. And, you know, I've said it before that I think when you get in that headspace, it doesn't help your game. Sure, maybe the game is bad and there needs to be changes, but it doesn't help when you think in that way. If you think the game is perfect, you're probably going to play better COD because, you know, you're trying to control what you can control, which is all you can really do at the end of the day. So FaZe just came with the smoke, and I think this was more so map pool than anything else. And I'd love to see this series on maps that Toronto actually wanted to play, at least in terms of maps they're actually good at, right? Okay, they wanted to play these maps because they wanted to get some practice on them against a good team, I'm sure. But Drazah gets Envoy here through the smoke in the end, of course, former teammate on the Los Angeles Thieves team, not the case any longer. And then Drazah was immediately after doing the search and destroy here, right? So it was a Rio surge. Toronto went up 5-4 here. They had a chance. They possibly should have won the round 10, and then the round 11 they got completely bodied, and yeah, FaZe take it in 6-5 fashion to close out the series, or close out the round 2-0. Drazah, as of course, was letting them know, and it was quite clear that from minute 1 Drazah was really coming with the energy in this series. And I feel like you probably heard the comments that Panny P made the other day. Basically, Eggs last week said that FaZe, they effectively don't have the dog in them. They don't have the cockiness required to believe they're the best and know they've got the most amount of talent in the league and know that they're the better team. Drazah today, whether you think it was forced or not in the post-game interview, was absolutely displaying that, you know, there's no questions as to what he was trying to get across here. And again, I don't think Toronto were taking these 10 league points massively seriously. And I do think this is a problem in general with this current online format. Scrap, there was a bit of a technical delay. He had the fidget spinners out there and just playing around with them. And as Hixie said at the time, you know, these qualified games just aren't it. And I feel like, sure, some teams take it seriously. Some teams, especially if they're good, don't really, because they kind of know they're going to get through anyway. It's more about understanding and improving and learning some things and trying some new maps than actually playing your best COD necessarily. And I understand that. And I also think with 7 matches, once Toronto started out 4-0, at this point they can pretty much do whatever they want, right? And it's still going to work out in their favour. So I think pretty frustrating to watch from a FaZe perspective. Toronto were just joking around here, and then they go into an invasion control where I just think FaZe are so good at this map. I know that Toronto are good at it as well. Like, a lot of the top teams are pretty good at this one, but watching FaZe play offense on this, with very few exceptions, is really impressive, and they'll almost always get a great offensive win at some point. I just think they're such a scary team to play on this map. So is this kind of propane canister, to be fair, the amount of kills that was putting up this game, and despite some Envoy heroics in the final round, again, it was Drazah and Cell, really, that took over this final round to close out the game. Wasn't even close in the end, to be fair. 3-1 for FaZe in the control, and that's GG. Drazah let them know on the cameras. Scrappy had a bit of a smirk on his face, because I'm sure he knew after this that he was going to get clowned on Twitter somewhat, and that's pretty much what ended up happening by this man at Drazah on the right-hand side. So, wanted to share for you guys the instant reaction here from Drazah, because, yeah, pretty spicy, and maybe you think that, you know, what he says here is forced in the post-game interview, but nonetheless, he reckons Ultra terrible, New York Subliners terrible, OpTic not even close to competing with them for the championship, and Drazah's basically saying, yeah, we're going to win the event. So now they've got to back that up on LAN, and of course Scrappy's perspective is, look, this is just online. Yes, they lose their win spree, and Drazah manages to prevent the win spree getting broken, right, which of course the record goes to FaZe still back in the Black Ops Cold War days. But as soon as the series is over, Drazah was most certainly letting them know in the cameras and also in the post-game interview.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to show everyone why we're the best team in the world, and I think we've been putting up a lot of hard work to show that, and we came out here and 3-0. Yeah, I think mostly my S&D, just playing more confident with the team and make sure we're running together. For me, it's just an S&D. But I mean, listen, we're shooting on all cylinders and we just 3-0'd them, so we're confident and I'm happy with it. Yeah, I mean, it's honestly, it's just like not scamming after we get that first blood and taking solo chows. I did a bit against New York and it costed us. So I think it's just more so just running with your teammate, guaranteeing trades because no one in this world can kill us. So if we're together, it's gonna be that much harder.
Drazah, how do you see the competition right now? Are there 3 teams at the top, 4 teams at the top? Who do you think competes for the title come Miami in 2 weeks?
Honestly, it's just us in Toronto, but as you've seen, we just 3-0'd them, so I think they're ass, and we're on top.
All right, with that comment then, what went wrong against the Subliners? Was it just that last S&D?
I think they just exposed our S&D, and that's why we worked so hard on it and showed an S&D dub today. So, I mean, it's whatever. I mean, I think they're still ass too.
So I think it was pretty expected that at some point in this series there would be some Drazah versus Scrappy beef and drama, and that's exactly what we got on the timeline after the fact. Drazah was clowning on them as hard as possible. Scrappy found it kind of funny because like he doesn't value these 10 online CDL points that much. Drazah says, see you at Major 2. So man, I am buzzing for the possibility of an Ultra versus FaZe rematch when we get to a LAN environment, and well, hopefully it happens, and I'm sure that on the current state and trajectory of the league, it more than likely will. So very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.